did you have a moment where you're like, now I'm 100% sure the resurrection happened, and so I'm going to, so how sure did you have to be before you had this moment where you said, I think I believe this enough that I'm gonna confess Jesus and go get baptized? What was that moment, and how sure were you?
This whole time I was doing all of this reading, I was praying, I was going to church, reading the Gospels, the things that you're supposed to do. And I had this thought that it couldn't just be a process of reading enough footnotes, that there had to be some kind of, warm and fuzzy feeling or something. But it was just radio silence. I had conversations with a few Christians across different traditions, and they all said some version of the same thing. When I would say, I want the feeling. And they would say, well, Molly, it sounds like what you are asking for is the relationship of faith. And that it is a relationship, and you have to think about it as you might the process of getting to know a human friend. And yes, you can Google a person, you can ask around about them, find out what they're like, and sort of suss them out at a distance, but you can't actually become their friend and have the experience of the friendship until you risk something, until you actually enter the relationship. And it might go badly, you don't know, but you have to step out in trust. And that was persuasive to me. And I had some sense too that my apologetics reading, and it's still it's an addiction that I have to manage because I recognize that it is driven by a very kind of depraved desire to make God answer me on my terms. And I mean, I've read enough Eastern theology and apophatic theology to be able to discourse in a relatively intelligent way about the limits of human description and blah, blah, blah. But it's so hard to actually put that into practice when you're a product, as I am, of a culture in which your whole sort of educational and professional life, you set yourself out a task and you learn the stuff necessary to execute the task, and you execute the task and you move on. And I wanted, at some level, even though I knew it was absurd, I wanted Christianity to be like that, and it wouldn't submit to that. I thought of myself, and I still do, as having some kind of commitment to the pragmatist philosophical tradition associated with William James, and his whole idea is that truth is an asymptote. We can never get there perfectly. We can only kind of creep forward toward it, and we should hold our beliefs about the world lightly and treat them as tools to navigate the evidence we have. And as the evidence accumulates that maybe makes our tools seem inappropriate, we've got to be willing to change those tools, change our worldview as we gain new evidence. And I got to the point where I certainly was not 100% persuaded of the resurrection, but I was well north of 51%. And I thought, well, forget about what a Christian would do. I'm not a Christian, but I am trying to be a good William James style pragmatist. And in that case, I have to be willing to adjust my working hypothesis of the universe. And if I believe that it's more likely than not that this guy rose from the dead, then I can go with him on the other things he says about himself. And then I have to submit. Because part of what this is, part of getting anything like an answer to my question is not God giving me the answer, it's me submitting without knowing. And so that's how I found myself in the very strange position of being in that tank on the stage of this megachurch while the worship band was playing with a black Jesus in my place t-shirt, being baptized with a former president of the Southern Baptist Convention.